Krishna conscious farmer is thinking, well, how do I cooperate with that system? What do I do to cooperate with that system? Not how do I exploit that system and use it for my own personal sense gratification, my own personal economic development.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So how do you do that? Is that with cow and
Yeah.
hand tools, or?
Well, in terms of calories, the number of calories you put into growing food and the number of calories you get back, actually the most efficient system is agriculture done by hand. It sounds crazy, I know, because it's so easy to jump on a tractor and rip up some ground and all that. But when you actually think carefully about all the inputs and the carbon footprint that you create, and all the entanglements with doing, especially highly mechanized farming, it's very entangling. I probably spend half my time fixing equipment just to keep it running so that I can go out and do farming on a large scale. And I'm not even a large scale farmer, I'm just doing a few acres, which is actually quite a lot when you do it organically. So the commitment to do it by hand means to successfully grow, for example, grain on a large scale, you need draft animals. How are you going to do, if you're not going to use a tractor, because that's exploitive, the manufacturing process of a tractor is exploitive. And if you have an approach that says, well, you can't use animals because that's exploiting animals. You can't use horses, you can't use oxen, you can't use mules, you can't use any of the traditional draft animals. How are you going to do it? So the whole vegan approach to sustainability, although understandable from a compassionate point of view, is completely impractical from a historical point of view. It's not practical to go out into a field and work up ground by hand with your friends on the weekend so that you can have enough, you can plant enough wheat to grow the number of loaves of bread you and 3 other people in your family might need for a year. And if you think that's not true, go try it. Take a mattock and take a shovel and take a rake and go out and work up some barren, some sod in a pasture somewhere where it's all knotted and thatched and very hard work. So by Krishna's arrangement, the animals are there as co-authors in agriculture. They're incredibly valuable to have. And you lose sight of that when you are 3 or 4 generations deep in urban living. You're so far removed from the actual reality of taking responsibility for your own food supply, what that entails, what are the skills required for doing that, what are the tools you need for doing that, what kind of social setting, cultural backdrop has to be there to actually grow grain, to grow it, to harvest it, to process it, to store it, to protect it. Every step of all of that requires a lot of culture and a lot of skill and a lot of care and a lot of social skills, so that you have wonderfully loving, interdependent relationships with others. So when you're removed from that by 2, 3, 4 generations, like most young people are today, they kind of naturally gravitate towards these philosophies like being vegan, which again, I understand it. I hardly take any milk products unless it's from a protected cow, an ahimsa cow. But at the same time, from a farming point of view, you're completely in la la land. You have no idea what it actually takes to grow grain or large-scale even vegetable production in a way that can be embraced by large numbers of people. So the animals are family. They're co-authors in agriculture. They should be co-authors in agriculture. And the fact is, if you've ever worked with animals, I've had some experience with horses and mules, and to some degree oxen. They like to work. They actually like to be harnessed, as long as you're kind and you're gentle with them and you don't overwork them. but they have these big, passionate bodies. And when you put a work harness on a big team of Belgian horses, or big red mules, and they know you, you know them, you've had a working relationship with them for years, they trust you, they know what to do. And they like going out there and actually going up and down the field and tilling it, primary tillage pass or secondary tillage pass. You can see it. You can just see it in their gait and in their demeanor and in their loving relationship with you. They actually like to work. So that's a very different understanding of how the creation, how I should say, how to approach the growing of food so that the animals are an integral part of your family.